Every sport talks about toughness, but what does it look like when the lights are brightest and the first contact shatters your face? Inside the very first set of the 2014 Grand Final, Sam Burgess collided with James Graham and fractured his cheekbone and eye socket. He didn't come off. He didn't slow down. He played the full 80 and changed what the word tough means in rugby league. Is that the toughest game an NRL forward has ever played? This story starts long before the siren. Sam Burgess was not manufactured in a gym. He was built in West Yorkshire. Cold nights, heavy grounds, winter breath hanging in the air at Odsal. Bradford Bulls at 17. By 20, he was the kid English fans pointed at when they wanted to believe again. The early signs were obvious. He ran like collisions were appointments he refused to miss. He defended like every tackle owed him money. And even as a teenager, he had the old pro habits that win dressing rooms. Carry early into the set, talk in the line, talk teammates in the eye and demand another effort. Then came a phone call that moved to life. South Sydney, Redfern, a club that had been fighting ghosts for decades. Burgess said yes and landed in the NRL in 2010 with two things you can't coach: collision timing and competitive spite. From day one, the contacts sounded different. Carries through hips, tackles that ended arguments, a baseline level of work that made teammates straighten their backs. He wasn't just a blunt weapon. Short pass at the line, offload in traffic, a little kick when he felt cheeky and the game invited it. Sam had enough skill to play any style and enough stubborn to play every style in the same set. He arrived into a club trying to climb. Souths had history and noise in the stands, but they needed a middle who would set the temperature. Burgess did that by habit. First touch after points conceded, first hit after a mistake. He made it clear that Souths would not be bullied in the ruck anymore. You did not collide like that for free. Shoulders bark, ribs click, face cut again. Needle on Friday, tape on Sunday, carry on Monday.
Initially after injury or surgery, it's very hard to keep your mind motivated, but all I can think is set yourself a plan.
This is the part casuals skip. The quiet physio rooms. The way you turn a car steering wheel with elbows because your hands are swollen. The way you plan a week around swelling and sleep. The ice baths that hurt more than the game. Burgess didn't build a highlight reel. He built a tolerance. In the grind of the NRL, toughness is not a single moment. It's a weekly promise. You promise to take the ugly carry when momentum is against you. You promise to hit the lead runner even when your lungs are on fire. You promise that if a teammate makes an error, you will be the first man back to square the set. 2013 World Cup. Burgess was not a passenger. England fell to a last-minute dagger against New Zealand, yet the takeaway was simple. In big games, Sam didn't shrink. He went looking for the heavy minutes. For English fans, it was pride mixed with what might have been. For Souths, it was a warning to the rest of the NRL. The man they had in the middle was built for knockout football. South Sydney in 2014 were definitely not a vibe. They were a schedule you didn't want. Middle third heat, relentless sets, a forward pack that treated second efforts like a hobby. Isaac Luke snapping rucks, the Burgess brothers bending lines, John Sutton steering with calm. Burgess set the temperature. There are seasons where a guy becomes the reference point for what serious looks like. This was one of them. Through autumn and winter, you saw the same beats. Early carry when a set looked flat, line speed when the stadium went quiet, a word to a teammate that ended with a nod and the next set won. When Souths needed to turn the tap, it was Burgess who reached for it. Opponents felt the attrition. You could see packs getting shorter in the line as the minutes ticked. You could hear it in tackles that started to arrive a fraction late. Souths didn't just beat you, they eroded you. Kickoff, first set, collision, face gone. Everyone in the stadium felt it. Everyone at home saw the eye swell and the jaw set. Most players look at the sideline in that moment. Burgess looked at the next ruck. He didn't hide on an edge. He didn't float at fullback pretending to be involved. He stayed in the middle and kept taking tough carries. He kept presenting at the line, tying defenders in, letting Souths play at his tempo. Here's the part that gets missed. Toughness isn't just staying on. It's doing your job so well that the other team forgets you're hurt. Canterbury tried to test him. They ran traffic at his channel. They chased kicks to his corner. They kept folding blokes, finding his fronts, and getting up fast enough to hold the ruck. That's the detail that wins finals, not the headline, the habits. As the half wore on, South started to lean. Field position turned. Completions stayed high. Canterbury's sets grew shorter. You could feel the shift. It's the feeling a stadium gets when a middle decides the game belongs to his team. Second half and the scoreboard finally followed the flow. Souths punched, then punched again. Burgess kept going. No mask, no pity. When the siren finally went, the images were instant folklore. The swollen face, the teammates rushing in, the medal around his neck. Clive Churchill in a landslide and a premiership that Souths had chased for generations. If your grandparents cried that night, you understood why. Rugby league has had hard men for 100 years. What made this different was the stage, the timing, and the clarity of the pictures. High-definition pain, national television, pressure that makes legs heavy. Burgess kept making the same choices. Take the carry, make the tackle, reset the line. Teammates read that language without words. Opponents read it too. You can feel resistance drain out of a team when a hurt man refuses to leave. The next week, you still felt it. Kids at junior training asking about playing through pain. Old Souths fans smiling in butcher shops. Rival fans admitting, even if quietly, that they had seen something rare. It's easy to turn him into a hit-up merchant with a heroic jaw. That sells him short. Sam's footwork into contact bought him wins against bigger men. He had the patience to angle a run late and the power to finish it straight. His short ball froze halves. His offloads were chosen, not thrown. He read momentum well. If the ruck was loose, he tightened it. If the ruck was tight, he widened it with a tip or an offload. That's not courage. That is intelligence. And when the set needed a brain, not a chest, he had that gear as well. Tempo control is a skill. Souths lived off his tempo. After the summit, Burgess tried something brave in a different way. A code shift to Union, Bath. A World Cup on home soil. High stakes, high scrutiny. England's campaign didn't land. Hindsight is loud. The decision to go was still bold. He came back to league and to Souths. Not every chapter was perfect. Bodies didn't forget collisions. But the standard he set never moved. If Sam was on the field, you knew what the contact would feel like and what the middle third would sound like. He moved into leadership without needing a title for it. Young forwards took cues from how he warmed up, how he held the middle after a long set, how he spoke when the game tightened. That is legacy in a club. Not just the ring, the routine you leave behind. This is where we get honest. Toughness isn't just pain tolerance as a party trick. It's responsibility under pressure. It's keeping promises to teammates when your body is voting no. Burgess didn't win that medal just because he stayed. He won it because he still led. He still made the next carry the right way. He still turned sets. He still made Canterbury think about every tackle. If you're a junior watching this, here's the lesson. Tough isn't blood on your jersey. Tough is the decision you do your job properly when no one would blame you for doing less. It's front-loading effort when your lungs are burning. It's taking the ugly carry on play 1 so your mate can have the pretty one on play 4. It's making the tackle you don't want to make and then getting up fast enough to make the next one. Clubs do not transform in a week. They change because a few players decide the standard is the standard every day. In that 2014 window, Souths grew into the team everyone feared in September. Halves played straighter because they trusted the ruck. Edges defended calmer because the middle didn't leak. Bench forwards came on and kept the tempo rather than trying to rescue it. Burgess sat in the middle of all of that like a metronome. Fans could feel it. You could look at a draw and circle Souths as the side you'd least wanted in a knockout. That is the power of a forward who can control pace and pain at the same time. There's the football version of history. Then there's the human one. Imagine the noise when the collision happens. Imagine the way your vision changes. Imagine the next decision. Do I go off or do I stay? Most of us never face that choice in front of a nation. Burgess did. He stayed. And then he kept choosing well for 80 minutes. Carry with purpose, tackle with shape, talk with clarity. That's why people still talk about it a decade later. Not just because of the injury, but because of the decisions that followed it. Awards and headlines came and went. Opposition fans moved on to their own seasons. Souths fans kept the night framed in memory. Ask them what they remember and they'll tell you about the lift in the stands. They'll tell you about the moment they realised the wait was over. They will tell you about a forward who refused to leave and a team that refused to blink. Ask English fans and you will hear pride. One of theirs came here, carried a club, and gave them a grand final for the ages. Years later, he passed that standard on as a leader and a mentor who could look young forwards in the eye and tell them exactly what big game courage requires. Sport needs reference points. A drop goal in the rain, a sidestep that breaks physics, a tackle that flips a season, and sometimes a face that keeps going. Sam Burgess gave the game a picture it'll use for decades when it tries to define what a forward is meant to be under lights. It is the single toughest performance in NRL history. Tell us your pick and your reason. If you were on the hill, in the members, or yelling at a television that night, leave your memory below. We read them. If you want more deep dives that mix highlights and history, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We post once a month and we keep it honest. This is Line Break, where every player has a story worth telling.